My name's Seeta Patel. I'm a bharatanatyam trained dancer based in the UK, and my role in this particular piece is the dancer, but I've also co-conceived the work with a collaborator, the director and choreographer Lina Limosani. The title of this show is Not Today is Yesterday, and the idea is really looking at how we are whitewashing our histories because it's often easier to palette, I think, when things are cherry-picked or look through rose-tinted glasses, especially at this current time when there are a lot of sort of right-wing ideologies rising up across the world, and they often look back at history with a nostalgic feel rather than looking at some of the devastating things that have happened over in the course of histories of various countries around the world. And rather than learning from them, it's almost sort of giving fuel to some of the really terrible things that have happened in the past, but looking at it through as though they were really great things that made the countries brilliant and made them great. And so it's really looking at that, and we've created an allegory through a fairy tale structure.
There were faraway folk, neither perfect nor poor. In their land, the rising sun shone down golden and warm. Rain fell like soft diamonds, soaking into the earth, feeding the soil and nourishing souls.
The thing that we realized early on was that the gestural vocabulary and the storytelling through the expression was something really strong within Bharatanatyam for Lina, and she wanted to sort of expand on that physically and make that detailed work much bigger.
You may not believe what you hear, but do you believe if you see? The unbraided hair would wreak havoc and strife. Long ago and far away, these folk knew that stories held power, and that the power was in the giving, not taking.
Lots of these things very relevant today, and it's something, I think, as a fairy tale, it becomes a timeless thing. So we didn't want to locate it in a geography or a time. So we created sort of two worlds, one of a faraway land where the people are described in this very exotic language at the start of the work, sort of the rivers made of chocolate and the people were plants and elephants ruled the land. It's sort of this very evocative language, which we know is not necessarily real, but it's creating these two worlds, one which is sort of with harsh edges and sort of plastic and this new material and almost like diamonds and edges and architecturally different to this world of faraway people. And using the coming together of those two worlds visually and through the language, you see how one is sort of just consumed and subsumed and just torn and decapitated from the other. So there's a reference to hair in the work because hair is such a big part of so many cultures, especially indigenous cultures, and there's a sort of mysticism around it, there's a power imbued to it, so we create a world with that imagery. Alongside the work on the tour, we have always had a curated post-show discussion. So rather than having just an added on thing, it's been a second half of the evening where we've invited really interesting guest speakers, journalists, historians, other artists, activists within the sort of arts world to have a discussion. So the work is really a visual, visceral, emotional way into something. Then with the post-show talk, we can intellectually dissect some of the deeper themes within it and how relevant it is to us today.
It happened. It did not happen. It perhaps could have happened. I think it's time to complete this story.